Hey guys, so I'm going to show you how to set up hot reloading with your IntelliJ projects. So hot reloading is a way for you to build the project in the background without you having to actually like hit redeploy and set up the Tomcat server in IntelliJ and have to stop it and start it every time you save your files. It saves a lot of time for me. I just wanted to share with you how I sort of figured my way through it. You're going to need a little bit of terminal commands. If you know a couple terminal commands like cd and ls, that would help. And you also need to have Node.js installed. I think we're going to talk about Node.js in maybe 2 weeks. If you haven't installed it, you probably will install it in a couple weeks. So you might want to get on board a little early. Basically, we need Node.js because we need npm, which is Node's package manager, and we just need one package from them, which is called watch. And this watch library, it basically allows you to detect changes inside of a directory and then execute some sort of command or trigger a command every time a file changes. So like every time you save a file. So eventually what we're going to do is start the build process every time you save files. So this is really useful. So to start, let's see. I have two terminal windows open and got my browser and I've got my folders here. So we are in my home directory. I'm going to change my directory into where all of the IntelliJ projects are. So for me, that's idea projects and then CS5244. And that should be both where our Tomcat folder is and where all of our directories for our projects are. So the first thing I have to do is start Tomcat Catalina. So to do that, I have to change my directory into this Apache folder, this Apache Tomcat folder. And then inside of there, there's a folder called bin. And if you look at what it's inside, there are two files called catalina.bat and catalina.shell. So depending on what platform you're working on, if you're on Windows, you use the bat, and if you're on a Mac or Linux, you use the shell. So we're going to /Catalina, and I'm on Windows, so I'll use the bat, and I'm just going to say run. So that's going to boot up our Tomcat server. And this is the exact same output you would see if you had set up Tomcat in IntelliJ. I think you guys, see this string of text like kind of run when you hit deploy or something. It's the exact same thing, except it's on the terminal. So this is going to run the daemon, which just kind of runs in the background. You leave this guy open, and he just kind of runs the server and watches for changes. That means that if I navigate to my John Tran bookstore DAO is what this project is. Since Tomcat's running, you can see when I refresh the page, it signals some stuff in the log, and then I get my app running. So that's a way to run Tomcat without having to have IntelliJ open. So with Tomcat running, in our second terminal window, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to cd into my idea project, CS5244, and I'm just going to use Bookstore DAO as my example project to show you guys how to do it. So we're going to cd into John Tran Bookstore DAO, and in here we've got the source folder, and I think you go into like source main web app, and then that's where most of your files are. You guys should be familiar with what's inside this, and it's basically this. So what we have to do is now we have to install, if you don't have it already, we have to install this watch. And after you've installed Node.js, you can just, I think you can just go to the downloads folder and download it and install it. After that, you need to install this watch thing. And to do that, you run npm install-g watch. So I'm not going to execute this because I've already installed the watch utility, but you guys just have to do that and it'll install this watch thing for you, and that just allows you to have a terminal command called watch, and then you type in a directory for it to watch. So next up is that we need to set up a shell script to run the build process for Gradle, basically, and then copy the .war file from wherever it is in, I think it's in build, and then libs. Yeah, so your .war file usually lives here. We have to copy that into the Tomcat folder inside its web app folder in order for this to work correctly. Because the way it works kind of in the under the hood is that this Tomcat watches for anything that gets copied into this web apps folder. So every time you deploy a .war file, IntelliJ probably does this for you, but it copies this .war file into this web apps folder inside Tomcat. And if you have your server running, it just automatically watches for any changes in this folder, and then it makes a folder for itself and deploys it here. So that's kind of how things work. We have to set up a bat file or a shell script or whatever to do that stuff for us every time a file changes. So that's the sort of ideology. Okay, so we need to go into the source folder. We have to make a new file. I will call this deploy. On a Windows, I will call it a bat file, but you will call it a .sh file, a shell script file if you're on a Mac or a Linux. So let's edit this, and I'm going to do Notepad. So we're going to open this and add some commands to it. I should have probably copied and pasted the commands into Piazza or at some place, but let me just grab them for a second. So this is what you're going to put into this .bat or .shell file. So you're going to walk through the commands, you're going to cd back out. So you're going to change back out into the main directory. You are going to deploy this Gradle.bat. You're going to run Gradle.bat if you're on Windows, or if you're on a Mac or Linux, changes to Gradle. I think it's just Gradle. Yeah, so just change that to Gradle W without the .bat at the end, because that's for Windows. So it runs Gradle clean, and then it runs Gradle build. So clean just cleans out all your existing files, and then build just rebuilds the .war package. So after that gets rebuilt, it copies what is in build libs, and then the name of your file. So put your name, and then bookstore project name. So we're in the DAO project right now, but it copies this guy into the Apache Tomcat web apps folder. And so that's basically all the script does. So if you save it, close, and I'm going to go back to my application right now. So this is how it looks. Let's test this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys. If I go into, let's say I think it's WebInf. Let's say I've got my test.jsp, which has all the HTML, right? And I guess I'll open it in Notepad or something. So we've got test.jsp. Oops, sorry. Okay. And we're going to, first, I'm going to cd into my source folder, because that's where the bat file lives. And then I'm just going to run watch and then deploy.bat. Okay. There. Yeah, give me a second. So you can't have line breaks apparently in the file. So I gotta kill all the line breaks. Give me a second. John Tran source. And then open a notepad. And then change this to have no return spaces. Okay. Try that again. Okay. And what it's going to do is it's going to deploy all these commands. So the first one is starting Gradle, I guess. And then it's going to clean stuff. The next command is Gradle clean. Might take a little while. Or maybe not. I think maybe, there you go. The clean task was complete, successful, and the build task is there, it's successful. And then remember, it copies it into the web app folder in Apache, and you should see some sort of output here as the server restarts and picks up those changes. There weren't actually any changes, so if I refresh my page, you don't see anything. But let's add a change. Let's do something. So let's go into my test JSP. Right underneath the body, let's do a little something. So I'm going to add an H1 tag, and I'm going to say, John Tran, does this work? Let's find out. So I'm going to hit save. That should trigger a build from the watcher that we set up. And so it's cleaning stuff, and it is building stuff, and it copied it into Tomcat's folder, and Tomcat picked it up and is redeploying. And let's see if we see our H1 tag with the John Tran does it work. So I'm going to refresh, and voila. Okay, so this means that you don't have to worry about deploying your app any longer. You can just, start, making changes in your files. You can start writing stuff. So like this. Does it work? Yes, it does work. All right, and happy face. And every time you make a change, all you gotta do is save your stuff, and you never have to worry about deploying. You can just go on with your day, keep typing and saving, and the deployment will just happen in the background. And you just need to refresh your page every so often to see the changes. So, oops, yeah, server wasn't finished. So here you go. There you go. John Tran, yes, it does work. Smiley face. Okay. And that is how you set up hot reloading. Hopefully it speeds up your development process a little bit, and it certainly was nifty for me to set up. So enjoy. Thanks.